I was 25 when I was arrested for stealing a loaf of bread to feed my starving family. For that petty crime, I spent 19 years in jail. When I was discharged from prison, I was a bitter man. I walked for miles trying to find somewhere to rest. By the time I reached Dina, the sun had already set and I was hungry and exhausted. I headed for an inn, seeking accommodation for the night. Looking me up and down with distrust and suspicion, the owner of the inn sent a boy to the police station to inquire about me. When the boy returned, he handed the owner a note. From the note, the owner learned that my name was Jean Valjean and that I was an ex-convict. As a result, he refused to let me in. I left the inn in humiliation. I could feel that people behind me were exchanging looks of fear, and that my arrival would soon become the talk of the town. Just as I had expected, everyone in Dina knew that I was released on parole. Consequently, no one was willing to reach out to me, and even a glass of water was too much for me to ask for. Cold and starving, I was left shivering in the dark. Fortunately, the Bishop of Dina took pity on me and welcomed me with open arms. Even after he knew my true identity, this man didn't drive me out of his home as most others had done. Instead, he invited me to stay and dine with him. That night, though I was lucky enough to sleep in bed for the first time in 19 years, I couldn't fall asleep. I kept thinking about the precious silverware on the bishop's dining table. I should have thanked him for offering me food and shelter, yet I found myself deeply disturbed by the thought of how unfairly society had treated me over the past years. After a slight hesitation, I got up, stole the silverware, and slipped away. However, I didn't get far. By the time it was dawn, the police had caught me and taken me back to the bishop. "I'm so delighted to see you again," the bishop said to me before I could speak. "You forgot to take the candlesticks." With my eyes nearly popping out of my head, I was stunned by his words. The bishop had not only forgiven me for my crime, but also wanted me to have his only possessions of value. After the police left, the bishop told me, "Everyone deserves a second chance. Promise me that you will use this silver to become an honest man." He continued solemnly, "Jean Valjean, my brother, you no longer belong to evil, but to good. It is your soul that I am buying for you, and I give it to God." I left the bishop's house and roamed the countryside. My thoughts were on my dreadful days in prison and on my wasted life. I was upset and angry, But as I brooded over my misery, the bishop's words flashed through my mind. All at once, my anger and gloom somehow vanished. The bishop's love and forgiveness had cast out my hatred for the world. From that moment on, I was truly free. I, Jean Valjean, became a changed man and never committed another crime. Maria quit her job. She could no longer stand the humiliation of being mocked by her coworkers. The rich lady always treated others with suspicion for fear that they might try to cheat her out of her fortune. Before you leave the movie theater, be sure that you have all of your possessions, such as your bag, cell phone, etc.
After the rich man passed away, his family came into possession of his large house and jewelry collections.
Joshua was put in jail for drunk driving and killing 3 people in the traffic accident he caused. The kind-hearted woman always takes pity on those in need and tries her best to help them. Much to the relief of the local citizens, the escaped convict was quickly captured and sent back to prison. After the severe earthquake, the victims were badly in need of food, clothing, and shelter. A feeling of gloom filled the room after the bad news was announced.
In the story, the witch disappears into the gloom of the forest to mix the magic potion.
Since our time is limited, we should pay more attention to the main points instead of the petty details. After a hard day at work, Serena was exhausted and wanted nothing more than a hot bath. The diamond ring decorated with several precious stones costs a fortune.
Although the watch my grandfather gave me is old and battered, it is still precious to me, and I always keep it in a safe place.
When Frank heard the bad news, he just stood in stunned silence and didn't say or do anything. "I promise to be true to you in sickness and in health," Chandler said solemnly to Jennifer during their wedding ceremony. The weather has been dreadful for weeks. We couldn't do anything outdoors owing to the rain and the freezing cold. After several weeks of searching, the police finally tracked down the drug dealer and arrested him. I bumped into a long-lost friend yesterday. We exchanged phone numbers and promised to have dinner together sometime soon. The patient was released from the hospital after the doctors were sure that he had fully recovered from his illness. Colin couldn't help shivering with fear as he ran into a street gang on his way home. I believe that those who make the most of their time deserve success, while those who put things off will eventually end up in failure. Because she had forgotten her keys at home, Matilda had to roam the streets until her parents arrived home. Not knowing which bus to take to go downtown, the foreign visitors inquired at the information desk for more information about it. The manager dined with the CEO of the company and discussed the new marketing strategy with her. Dan kept brooding over the mistakes he had made, so he became even more frustrated and depressed. It seems like a sound plan, but somehow I don't think it will really work.
Don't give up so soon. We'll find a solution to the problem somehow.